All right, let's jump right in. We're going to tackle one of those questions that seems like it has a super obvious answer. But the truth, as we're about to find out, is so much more interesting. It's all about the link between the world around us and the words we use to talk about it. So here it is, the big question. Does your environment shape the language you speak? And your first instinct is probably, well, yeah, of course it does. How could it not? But what if the connection is way weirder and way deeper than you might think? You've got to start somewhere, right? And the most logical starting point is this simple assumption. A language must, in some way, be a mirror of the world where it's spoken. It just makes sense. But to really test that idea, we first have to get clear on what we actually mean by environment. This is where the linguist Edward Sapir comes in. He's kind of our guide for this whole journey. And he broke environment down into two big buckets. First, you've got the physical environment. That's the lay of the land, the weather, all the plants and animals. Then you have the social environment. Think of this as all the big forces of culture, religion, politics, art, the stuff that shapes how a community lives. So how do these forces actually show up in how we talk? Well, the most obvious place to start looking for clues has to be our vocabulary, the actual words we use. If our world really does shape our language, then the evidence should be right there, clear as day, in the words people use. And boom, right away, the evidence looks pretty convincing. Just look at this contrast. You have the Nootka people who live right on the coast. Their language, no surprise, is packed with super specific terms for every kind of marine animal you can think of. Then you look at the Southern Paiute, who live in a desert. And their language? It's got this incredibly rich and detailed vocabulary for topography, words for a semicircular valley or the shaded slope of a mountain. So far, our simple assumption is looking rock solid. But hold on, because this is where Sapir throws in a huge, crucial twist. He says it's not just about what's physically there. The real key, the secret ingredient, is what a community pays attention to. Whatever's most important to their culture, to their survival, that's what gets the detailed linguistic labels. This weed example is just perfect for explaining this. Think about it. For many of us, any plant we don't want in our yard is just a weed. It's a lazy, catch-all term for hundreds of different species. But for an indigenous group that relies on those exact same plants for food or medicine, oh no. They have precise names for every single one, for its stage of growth, for what it's used for. It's all about cultural interest. Okay, so vocabulary reflects our interests. That makes sense. But what about something deeper, something more fundamental? Does the environment we live in shape the actual sounds of our language, its phonetics? This leads to a really common, almost romantic idea, right? That people living in, say, rugged, jagged mountains would develop harsh, guttural-sounding languages. And maybe people in gentle, rolling landscapes would speak softer, more melodious ones. It sounds poetic, it feels like it should be true. But is it? Nope, not even close. In fact, the evidence just blows this idea right out of the water. Take a feature like pitch accent, where the tone of your voice changes a word's meaning. You find it in languages spoken in environments that have absolutely nothing in common. China, Sweden, West Africa, New Mexico. You couldn't find more different places if you tried. And the evidence just keeps piling up against the theory. Nasal vowels, they pop up in France and among the Iroquois. Glottal stops, that little catch in your throat in a word like uh-oh, they show up in Danish and in tons of American Indian languages. There is zero, and I mean absolutely zero, connection between specific sounds and specific environments. The theory just completely falls apart. So if the environment doesn't shape our sounds, maybe it shapes the very architecture of our language, its grammar. Does the world we live in dictate how we actually build our sentences and put our words together? This example from Northern California might just be the most powerful argument against that idea. Get this. You have 3 tribes, the Yurok, Karok, and Hupa. They live literally side by side, sharing the exact same physical environment. Their cultures are so intertwined that they're often considered a single cultural unit. And yet, their languages are profoundly, fundamentally different in sound, in structure, in every way that matters. If environment determined grammar, the situation simply shouldn't exist. And this pattern holds up for deep grammatical structures too. Take grammatical gender, where you assign masculine or feminine to nouns. You find it scattered across completely unrelated worlds, in German, in Arabic, in the Hottentot languages of South Africa, and in the Chinook language of the Pacific Northwest. There is no environmental logic connecting these places at all. So what on earth is going on? We have a real puzzle on our hands. Our vocabulary reflects our world, but the deeper stuff, the sounds and the grammar, seem to be totally disconnected from it. And this is where Sapir offers a truly brilliant solution. So let's just lay out the mystery one more time. Our words change to match our world, but our grammar and sounds seem to be marching to the beat of a completely different drum. Why this disconnect? Well, the entire answer boils down to one simple idea: speed. That's the whole key. It's all about how fast things change. Culture is like a rocket. Our technology, our beliefs, our society, it all changes relatively quickly, and we're aware of those shifts as they happen. But the deep structure of our language, that's the turtle. Its grammar and its sound system change at a glacial pace, almost entirely beneath our conscious awareness. Sapir explained this with a beautiful metaphor. He said to think of language and culture as two travelers starting on a journey together. At first, they're walking side by side. But over time, over centuries, thanks to countless tiny factors, their paths begin to diverge. And after a long, long time, they might end up in completely different places, even though they started from the same point. And this is the profound takeaway from all of this. The grammar we use every single day, the rules that feel so natural to us, it might not be a reflection of our world now. Instead, it may be a linguistic fossil, a ghostly echo of the culture and the environment of our very distant ancestors. The connection was there, once, but those two travelers parted ways a long, long time ago. Which leaves us with a fascinating, almost dizzying final thought. When you speak, you're not just communicating in the here and now. You are using an ancient structure, a blueprint inherited from a world you've never seen. So the question is, what forgotten ways of thinking, what lost cultural ideas might be hiding in plain sight, embedded in the very grammar you're using right now?